I want to talk about 3 things that are super important when it comes to growth, when it comes to healing, when it comes to ultimately evolving. And that is education, integration, and embodying. So here's the thing. We're really good at educating. We're really good at reading. We're really good at taking things in, trying to grasp, trying to understand, doing the research, and really trying to make sense of certain things, right? That might be something to do with your healing journey. That might be something to do with your behavior. Might have something to do with your outlook on some sort of topic. Regardless, we do a lot of educating. We do a lot of satisfying this mind of ours. And important, 100%, right? So, the next piece is the integration of that. So we can read and we can cognitively understand all these pieces, but there lies major importance in starting to integrate what we're learning into our everyday life. So integration can look like taking what you're learning, but being conscious about how you're putting what you're learning into use. Sometimes it's conscious, and then it starts to be a little more unconscious. But there's this integration that needs to happen. Then comes the third piece, which to me is the most important part, and it's the part that I feel we're missing the most, and that is the embodiment of it all. So embodiment means to really feel and be what it is that you were maybe cognitively learning about or consciously trying to do. Embodying is a felt experience. There's just a deep knowing that that's just now what you do or who you are, or however it's showing up relative to the situation. So let me give you an example. Let's say you tend to be in crowds and find it overwhelming, right? So when you're in crowds, you notice your heart rate increasing, you notice maybe your eyes dart around a lot, you're trying to read the room, understand how you're supposed to be, understand what's going on and how you should relate to what's going on. Maybe you're even unconsciously aware of where the exit points are so that if you need to, you can get the heck out of there. But when you're in large groups, you're constantly engaged, and it's intense, right? So you might know that about yourself, or you might become aware of that about yourself, and then you start doing some research, like what's going on? Oh, anxiety. I'm having anxiety in big groups, right? So you learn about anxiety, you learn about what that looks like, you read books about it, maybe you do some work around it, and you start to become aware of these patterns that you have showing up when you're in big groups. Right? You're like, oh, I'm now aware of my heart rate increasing, and I'm now aware that I'm constantly looking at people and trying to understand what are they doing, how do I read them, how should I respond to what's going on. I'm consciously aware of it, and maybe I have some tools to help me to navigate the situation a little bit more. So I'm starting to integrate the stuff that I've been educating myself on, learning about, being told I should do, maybe read about, and it's like, okay, I got this. I'm integrating it. Now, the key lies in embodying something different so that the anxiety starts to change. The experience in the group setting starts to change. This is where the value lies. This is where the change really happens. So we can educate ourselves all we want. We can use these resources and implement all these tools that we may have. But until things change and we embody a different experience, all the work we're doing isn't really getting to the core of what needs to happen. So to embody something might look like, oh, I was able to go into this large group and I noticed my heart rate increase, and I was also able to notice that actually I can feel my feet on the ground, and I just organically took a breath and I noticed myself start to settle. I'm not forcing myself to settle. I'm not forcing myself to breathe. but there's a change happening in my body because it no longer associates this experience as extreme as it used to. So there's an embodied experience that's not being forced, but is naturally starting to shift because our perception of the experience is different at a cellular level. Our response within our cells, the energy around our cells is starting to change, where it no longer associates that situation as something that's as dangerous and I have to switch into survival mode and be anxious, right? So the education around what's happening is important. The integration of the tools you might be learning and experimenting and exploring is important. But what's more important is for you to learn how to start to move through these pieces so that you can start to embody and feel something different starting to happen. All right? So embodiment is key. How do you make that happen? Start to really be curious, less about what you should be doing and more about what is happening within your body. What wants to happen? How do you support what didn't get to happen in the past? How do you get to support something new to start to happen so that you no longer continue down the same survival pattern, right? It's all about working somatically. It's all about looking at the whole picture and bringing in all the pieces, the education, the integration, and eventually embodying a different experience to really have change happen. So if you want to know more, I have some free resources, I have some courses, I want to geek out more about this stuff with you, so feel free to join me. My name's Nicole, and let's start embodying and really looking for a change.